The first time my sister said it out loud, it wasn't in a scream. It was worse than that. Quiet, precise, delivered like a verdict. "You're killing Mom," Lauren whispered, right there in the hospital hallway in Los Angeles, while fluorescent lights turned our faces the color of fear. I remember my hands going numb, not because I didn't love our mother, but because I realized Lauren had found the perfect weapon, a sentence that could turn everyone against me in a single breath. My name is Sophia Bennett. I'm 31, and I've never felt so small as I did in that moment, standing beside a vending machine that hummed louder than my own heartbeat, watching nurses move past like none of it mattered. Our mother, Marianne, was behind a curtain in room 512, fragile and tired, her body fighting battles I couldn't see. And my sister, my own blood, looked at me like I was poison in human form. It didn't start with that sentence. It started long before the hospital. It started with little corrections, little accusations disguised as concern. Lauren would call me unstable when I cried, selfish when I needed space, dramatic when I tried to explain that our childhood left bruises you can't photograph. She learned how to speak in a way that sounded reasonable to everyone else and made me sound insane without ever raising her voice. When Mom got sick, Lauren didn't just take charge, she took ownership. She was the one who spoke to doctors first. She was the one who held the clipboard. She was the one who answered questions that weren't asked to her. And I let it happen because I kept telling myself, she's stressed, she's scared, she loves Mom. But love shouldn't feel like a cage, and every time Lauren helped, I felt my air get thinner. Then, one night, while Mom slept, Lauren cornered me by the elevators and said it again, louder this time. "You're doing this to her." She pointed at the IV line like it was proof of my guilt. "All these years you've been a problem, and now she's paying for it." I tried to speak, but the words stuck in my throat because I knew what she was really saying. "If Mom dies, it will be your fault, and I'll make sure everyone believes it." I started doubting myself in the most dangerous way. I replayed every phone call I didn't answer, every visit I postponed, every time I chose work over family because being around them hurt. I wondered if my distance had been a kind of cruelty. I wondered if my exhaustion was a crime. And the worst part, Lauren could see that doubt growing in me, and she fed it with the patience of someone who enjoys watching a person break. That's when I found something I wasn't supposed to see. A folder tucked inside Mom's tote bag, beneath a scarf that smelled like her perfume. Papers, notes, a list of incidents Lauren had been documenting. Every moment I arrived late, every time I disagreed with her, every time I looked overwhelmed. Next to each item, she'd written a neat little conclusion, like a diagnosis. Sophia is unstable. Sophia causes stress. Sophia should not make decisions. My stomach turned as I read it, because I understood what she was building. A story where I wasn't a daughter trying to survive. I was a threat that needed to be removed. And if Lauren could convince the doctors, the social worker, even our own mother, then I wouldn't just lose the argument, I would lose my place in Mom's life entirely. Before I continue, I want to ask you something. Tell me in the comments where you're listening from and whether you've ever lived through a situation where a family member made you the villain just to feel in control. If you felt that kind of blame, I'd really like to hear your story. And if you want me to keep telling the truth, even the parts that hurt, write something on the channel, subscribe, and leave a like, because this is the only way my voice stays louder than Lauren's version. Because that folder wasn't the worst thing I found that week. The worst thing was realizing Lauren wasn't only trying to blame me, she was quietly preparing to make sure I would be gone when Mom finally opened her eyes and asked for me. I didn't confront Lauren that night. I didn't raise my voice or demand explanations. I stayed. I learned how to wait in silence without disappearing inside it. Sitting by my mother's bed, I watched the rise and fall of her chest and reminded myself that love doesn't need permission to exist. It needs courage to endure. When Mom finally opened her eyes, they searched the room until they found me. Her fingers tightened around mine, fragile but certain, and in that grip, I felt something steady. She didn't ask questions, she didn't accuse, she just whispered my name, like it was a place she could rest. In that moment, all the noise fell away. Days passed, the doctors spoke, decisions were made. I learned to speak calmly, to write things down, to protect my voice without turning it into a weapon. Lauren tried to control the room with certainty, but certainty cracks when kindness refuses to move. I didn't fight her. I stood my ground, with facts, with patience, with the truth. One afternoon, as sunlight spilled across the hospital floor, Mom asked for water. I helped her sip, careful and slow. She looked at me and said, "You're here." Not, "You should be here," just, "You're here." It was enough. It was everything. Later, when Lauren and I were alone, she didn't apologize, but she softened. Not much, just a fraction, enough to prove that walls can learn to breathe. I realized then that healing doesn't arrive as a grand confession. Sometimes it arrives as a pause, as space, as the choice not to harm again. When Mom was discharged, I walked her to the car. The air outside felt new, like a promise. She leaned on me, trusting my strength, and for the first time, I didn't feel like a problem to be managed. I felt like a daughter. That night, I stood by the window and let the city lights blur. I thought about the fear that tried to name me guilty. I thought about the truth that refused to be erased. And I smiled, small, quiet, real, because I understood something at last. Love doesn't need to win. It needs to remain. And as I turned off the light, I knew this wasn't the end of our story. It was the beginning of a gentler chapter, written without blame and held together by the simple grace of staying.